Hello and welcome to ComSpark Magazine, the interview series. I'm Dave Hammond with Parallel Technologies, and we're partnering with ComSpark Magazine on a series of interviews. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Chris Hickok, the CIO of Home City Ice. So Chris, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So Chris, Home City Ice is family owned and operated. Does that have any implication on the CIO role?
Yes, heavily. And I'll say in the best of possible ways. Obviously, I've been CIO at one organization, and so I don't have a breadth to compare it to, but I do have conversations with others in similar roles at larger companies, publicly traded companies. And the thing that it's not just IT, it proliferates throughout the business is that we keep a very long-term horizon. We don't have, a shareholder group that we have to report quarterly earnings to. And sometimes I see other companies making decisions that are based upon pretty short-term time windows so that they can hit certain metrics. Whereas it's been the same family that has owned the company since the 1920s. So obviously it's grown a lot since then. But they keep we're coming up on 100 years in 2 years. They keep, what do we need to do for the next 100 years? So if I got to take it on the chin this quarter to service a customer correctly or to invest in growth, that's what I'm going to do. Because I know if I don't get my return this quarter or next quarter, even this year, it's coming back at some time. It's over the next century. And so translate that down directly to your question about the CIO role. I'm able, if I can prove a business case that either something's going to be better from a customer service perspective, something's better for an employee, or for the growth that we're going to be having, I can generally get that spend. Whereas someone with a much shorter time horizon, that'd be a difficult thing. So again, don't have a ton of other experiences related to other than just conversations, but that part of it I absolutely love. And we're of the size and scale at this point where, a smaller family business, some of the dynamics you see, we don't see as much of. And so I think it's only a net positive from where I sit.
Yeah, interesting. It sounds like, just from the brief description there that, you guys are an organization that seems to just do the right thing for the customer.
Yes. And I got to say, at the end of the day, a bag of ice is a bag of ice. And I think we're careful because that seems trite, right? Like I could just be the marketer that says, we're in it for the customer. There is not a ton of differentiation on our product itself. And so the only way that I can stand out from the pack is to deliver a better experience for our customer. So while, this might seem like marketing speak, interview speak kind of thing, it's something that we really live by, because the instant we become the rest of the field, there's no reason for you to buy me over someone else. So yes, they make those decisions, and it kind of shows in the growth and the longevity the company's had.
Right. 100 years, that's a long time. You guys must be doing something
right. Right. Yeah. 2024 will be our 100 year. So we're looking forward to it.
Crazy. So Chris, my next question is, many manufacturers accelerated the adoption of digital innovation just in response to COVID-19. So were any of your digital innovations pushed to the top of the list?
So I might go against the grain on this answer, but no, not really. We've kept or try to keep a 2 to 3 year roadmap before we want to be in terms of the innovations that we put out into the business. And that's just a collaborative process that we go through with each of our business verticals and saying, all right, what pains are you going through? What kind of stuff are you experiencing? And then we prioritize based upon, all right, how much is it going to cost? And then what's the benefit to the business? And so we're trying to not just look a couple months in the future. We're trying to road plan or roadmap this stuff out 2 or 3 years. And so, COVID happened, all the changes happened. And it was kind of like, yeah, the stuff we need to be doing over the next 3 years is the same stuff we need to be doing. And so I don't know necessarily, I wouldn't say that we're ahead of the curve or, we were so far advanced that COVID didn't affect us. I think we just have tried to look out and prioritize in such a way that, it was kind of almost validation of the things that we needed to do, particularly on the manufacturing side. We're maybe a little bit more conservative in that we do prefer face-to-face in-office interaction. And so, we have remote desktops, VDI infrastructure, and VPNs were already set up and ready to go. But some of the hardware wasn't out, some personnel that had always been kind of in an office. And so when COVID first hit, we did accelerate that a bit. But that's fairly small. Our corporate support center is small relative to the rest of the company. So I can't say it was a huge piece, but that was the biggest piece of acceleration that we had to do. And I'm glad it happened, because it did not so much the technology, but it got people used to some of the collaboration platforms and some of the methodologies of working remote. And ultimately, as things get safer, you'll see us return back to that face-to-face. Because our perspective is you do miss some interactions. There's some hallway conversations, some culture. Not dogging anybody that does it. I get it. I think it's great. I think remote's great. But you'll see us probably gravitate back towards that. So ultimately, not a huge net difference for us overall. So unpopular answer, but it's the truth.
Yeah, well, in a sense, it sounds like you guys were prepared and you had the tools. You just had to use them at that point.
Unintentionally prepared. I don't want. I didn't have a crystal ball. We're not some guru to where we were just ready for it. It was our process was looking out already. So
great. So we've heard a lot about agility in 2021. So as a CIO, what's your perspective on the importance of being agile as it relates to tech? I'm going to start over. I just got a case
start it over.
So, Chris, we heard a lot about agility in 2021. So, as the CIO, what, in your perspective, is the most important part of being agile as it relates to technology?
Yeah, well, and don't get me started on buzzwords. I feel like there are so many buzzwords out there that we see in the marketing speak that you overuse a word so many times that it means nothing. But I find it hard to believe over the last 10 years with the push to agility that it's not at least in the back of every CIO's mind. We developed a lot of our own software and have worked to making our team kind of more agile in how they plan and how they process. And so it's kind of easy once you see that work to some degree, and we're by no means perfect, have a long way to go and that transition to agility. But once you see that work in one facet of the business, you realize this isn't just a software thing. This could work for everybody. And so for us, I mentioned a minute ago, those kind of planning cycles and saying, okay, over the next 3 years, what's the most important to you? And I think for us, it's just keeping up a cadence of asking that question frequently, right? Like I can have a great 3-year roadmap for you on what I think everything needs to be, and not talk to you for 3 years and it be a complete disaster, no matter how good the planning was 3 years ago. And so for us, part of that discipline of having a roadmap is continually revisiting that roadmap. Nothing fancy about it. It's just a relationship and a conversation to say, hey, 3 months ago, I know I told you that this system needed to get out. This was the most important thing. But guess what? This just changed in the regulatory environment. Now, all of a sudden, we need to do this. And it's more of a mindset than anything. Once your team is used to, hey, I know we were working on this and you're close to it. Let's get that out. But now we need to shift over to doing this. Once you're kind of in that mindset that that's going to happen, you don't get so disappointed when the grand laid plan that you had doesn't go exactly as it is. So, yes, we have heard a lot about it. And I think it's super watered down at this point. It means a lot to other people. But as a mindset, I would say it's proliferated in the majority of the company at this point.
You mentioned road mapping, and I think that's the biggest part of our business is, having a plan, but poorly executing is still a terrible plan. So in that sense, road mapping, how often are you guys kind of getting together with your team to making sure everybody's accountable and you guys are still hitting these marks and keeping projects rolling?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you mentioned executing poorly. I think in the past, before agility was a mindset, that we could set a grand roadmap for this year, for the next 18 months. And then we go back at the end of 18 months and say, well, we planned on doing this, this, and this, and we didn't get to it. We had to do this, this, and this, right? And so I had this set of things and I brought in this set of things. And you could, without an agile mindset, look back at that and say, I really suck. Like that wasn't great. I think what agility has done for us, or at least that becoming a common mindset. And when I say us, I don't just mean this company, I mean everyone is saying, we set this roadmap out and we look back at it and say, we had to adjust, but that's good. That's a good thing. Not following that plan, like super strict. That's not a bad thing. We adjusted to what we needed to do. And so, in direct answer to that, I feel like, keeping a cadence, keeping a regular cadence. And so our team, of course, the development team meets daily for what did you do yesterday? What are you working on today? What do you have blockers? And then, at a higher level, the product and IT leadership meets on a weekly basis to say, all right, where do we stand with this, and this? Our executive team meets weekly as well. And so it's easy when you just have a very intentional, it could be short, 15, 20, 30 minutes of
Sure.
Where do we stand today, of realigning. And then from there, we also, on top of that, we'll do, even higher level dives, higher level looks, I guess, on a semi-annual and annual basis to say, all right, I know we outlined all of these projects, but where do we actually stand today? So I think it's just keeping that regular cadence, and then understanding that it's ultimately going to change, and that's fine. That's totally fine as long as you're kind of keeping to that North Star of doing what is best for the business to enable the business. Then you really can't fail.
Chris, thanks so much for joining me today. For the audience, if you'd like to see more, please visit comspark.tech for additional interviews. So, Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.